Selected reading from Henry David Thoreau, Alive by Laura Walls. When I began writing this book, the term anthropocene was a novelty. Human beings, scientists were suggesting, had become a geological force changing the planet itself. As I worked, I realized that Thoreau's lifespan, though short, had been long enough to witness and record the arrival of the Anthropocene epoch in America. He was born on a colonial-era farm into a subsistence economy based upon agriculture, land that had sustained a stable Anglo-American community for 2 centuries, and before that, Native American communities for 11,000 years. People had been shaping Thoreau's landscape since the melting of the glaciers. By the time he died in 1862, the Industrial Revolution had reshaped his world. The railroad transformed Concord from a local economy of small farms and artisanal industries to a suburban node on a global network of industrial farms and factories. His beloved woods had been cleared and away, and the rural rivers he sailed in his youth powered cotton mills. In 1843, the railroad cut right across the corner of Walden Pond. But in 1845, Thoreau built his house there anyway, to confront the railroad as part of his reality. By the time he left Walden, at least 20 passenger and freight trains screeched past his house daily. His response was to call on his neighbors to simplify, instead of joining the rush to earn more money for the latest gadgets and goods from China, Europe, and the West Indies, feeding an economy that grew mindlessly, he wrote, like rank and noxious weeds. He called for mindful cultivation of one's inner being and one's greater community, a spiritual rather than a material growth through education, art, music, and philosophy. When he wrote that a man is rich in proportion to the number of things which he can afford to let alone, he meant not an ascetic renunciation, but a redefinition of true wealth as inner rather than outer, aspiring to turn life itself, even the simplest acts of life, into a form of art. Quote, "There is Thoreau," said one of his close friends. "Give him sunshine and a handful of nuts, and he has enough." That's just a passage from page whatever. We're talking about his great granddaddy, one of his dads, Jean Thoreau. The French part here. Jean Thoreau was a merchant who emigrated from Jersey Island to Boston. But Franklin Sanborn, who knew the family well, said Jean was a sailor, and he was shipwrecked from Jersey, privateer. In other words, he was from Jersey Island. When I began this book, the term, I read that already. What am I reading? Goodness.